So a new report just came out. Brandon Cooks traded to New England back in 2017. Turns out it was all part of a big plan to get Jimmy Garropolo a weapon for the future in New England.
Yeah, and this is actually not the first time that I've heard about this. I remember watching Colin Cowherd. I remember watching the Cowherd show a few months ago, and he was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and he says, "I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback, and I know this because Bill Belichick was willing to move on from Brady for Jimmy Garoppolo." And at the time, I was like, "That's crazy. Bill Belichick would never move on from Tom Brady for Jimmy Garoppolo." But these reports are starting to make sense now. Brandon Cooks coming here for Jimmy Garoppolo. It seems that Bill Belichick did kind of want Brady out and start to want to create a new system.
Yeah, well, when the Patriots and the 49ers first made the deal for Garoppolo, I remember when I was reading about it, one of the things I read was that Lynch originally called Belichick asking for Brady instead of Garoppolo. And I read that years ago when the trade first went down, and it just, it came back up now.
Interesting, because I heard Lynch called asking for Garoppolo, and Belichick said, "How about we give you Brady instead?" Which I think is crazy, considering everything that's happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I believe that Belichick at that time was ready to give up Brady, or especially, you would have maybe wanted Garoppolo to sit a little bit more before you did that, and maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they were ready to move on at that time.
Yeah, I find it weird because they were still winning Super Bowls. They'd just beaten the Falcons in the Super Bowl. They went to another Super Bowl the next year. I just find it strange that Belichick would want Tom Brady gone after, they're still winning their conference almost every year.
Yeah, and a little more icing on the cake, he was ready to give up Brady. He had also completed a trade with the Lions for Rob Gronkowski. Gronk, of course, said he was going to retire if he didn't stay in New England. But Belichick was ready to move on from Brady, move on from Gronk, and roll with a Garoppolo potential part 2 of the dynasty.
Yeah, and to me, it seems like, Belichick just kind of wants to create a second chapter of this dynasty, right? He says, okay, I did it with Brady. Now watch me do it with a different quarterback in a different system. And, I think it's a little odd, especially with all the success that his previous players had, everything Brady was able to do. And then Gronk, who's obviously one of Brady's best targets and best friends, he tries to get rid of him too. Gronk says, "I'm not playing with anybody besides Tom Brady," retires. And, it's weird for Bill Belichick to do something like that.
Yeah, well, it almost seems to me like instead of Belichick saying, "Hey, we could get 2 more Super Bowls out of these guys. Let's max their value, trade them now, and try and get 3 or 4 down the road," which is obviously a much, much, much riskier option. But yeah, that's almost what it seems like to me.
Yeah, so you're trying to short stop now and build your team for the long run. I actually heard that the tensions between Brady and Belichick were building much longer than just 2017. In fact, back in 2010, after the Patriots had gone 6-7 years without winning, that Brady had to make a verbal agreement with the owner, Robert Kraft, that if Belichick ever tried to trade Brady, that he could go out on his own terms.
Well, I think that just happens when, these two guys are together for so long. It had already been 10 years at that point that they've been working together, and you have success. But, when things start to happen, mistakes start to be made, they start pointing fingers at each other. So, it kind of makes sense in a relationship like that they would start to blame each other and start to have disagreements.
Yeah, I think conflict happens in any relationship, specifically one like that where you're so used to winning and then you don't for a bit. But obviously, that was back in 2010. They won how many more Super Bowls after that?
4.
Don't think, 4. Obviously they got through it.
Yeah. No, I feel like it was definitely worth it to hold on to Tom Brady, especially after everything he's proven the last few seasons. But let's dive into a hypothetical situation, right? So let's say in 2017, instead of trading Garoppolo for a second to the 49ers, they had traded, let's say, just Tom Brady for 2 first-round picks, or so something in that area. What do you think happens to the 49ers?
Well, I actually think they win 1 Super Bowl, and I think they beat the Chiefs in 2019. They got really close with Garoppolo, and to me, Tom Brady is just a better winner than Garoppolo is. They're similar players, but I think Tom Brady is just better, and I think Tom Brady wins that game. The reason I don't think he wins the other years is because that was the year that the 49ers really had a dominant defense. We've seen Tom Brady play with dominant defenses. He's going to win games, and I think, unlike Garoppolo, I think he's able to win that Super Bowl for them.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think they have won Super Bowl, and I think they beat the Chiefs. I mean, the deciding factor in that game was Garoppolo missed a few throws. I mean, it wasn't the only factor, but it was one of them. And if Garoppolo had hit those throws, despite a bit of a collapse on defense, they still win that game. And those are throws that in times like that Brady just makes. So I definitely think they have at least one Super Bowl.
Okay, so I'm a pretty big Tom Brady fan, but for me, I feel like not only do they win that one against the Chiefs, I feel like they win possibly one or two more because Brady was with the Pats for 2017, 2018, and 2019. And in those 3 years, I wouldn't be shocked if they get to two.
Yeah, if their defense can play well, in 2019 we saw it. If their defense can step up, then Tom Brady definitely. I mean, we've seen him win Super Bowls with two different teams now with the Bucs, and so anything's possible. I could definitely see him winning more than one.
Yeah, I could too. My only concern would be, I think, other than that 2019 season, the 2018-2017 version of the Niners, I don't know if they're strong enough, even with Brady, to get there really. But I mean, it definitely could have happened.
So, Jack, you're a 49ers fan, right?
Yeah.
When did Kyle Shanahan come to San Fran?
The year they traded for Garoppolo.
The year they traded. Okay, so it was that year. So you have Brady and Kyle Shanahan for 3 years, right? So if you have that duo, how much support do you really need?
Well, so the Garoppolo trade happened, I want to say near the deadline. So it would have been week 8. They were already I think they might have been winless or had one win at that point. So that year's a throwaway. So you really have 2018, 2019. I think they won it in 2019. 2018, they were 1-1, and they were actually coming back against the Chiefs and before Garoppolo tore his ACL. So that year, with the way that year went outside the quarterback position, I don't think it's unrealistic to think Brady could have taken them on a playoff run that year and potentially won it. That's just, to me, it's a kind of a huge if that I'm not going to, just say they would have won the Super Bowl, but I do think they had a team that could have.
Right, so do you think that, we've all been saying they probably win in 2019, but in this scenario, they probably don't have a bad enough record to land a guy like Nick Bosa. So are we sure that the defense is going to be as great that they're still going to reach that pinnacle?
Well, in 2019, the 49ers defense had just looked dominant, and I don't think you can say that was all Nick Bosa. I mean, everybody on that defense stepped up with Robert Saleh. I mean, Richard Sherman was playing like an elite corner again. You had all these other guys, Arik Armstead. And so to me, it just looked like, Fred Warner, and that defense was just dominant. And so I think they still compete without Nick Bosa.
Yeah, even without Bosa on that defense, they still got Warner. They still have Buckner that year. They still have Armstead, D. Ford, Sherman. Emmanuel Mosley played great that year. Quan Williams was a great nickelback. So I think their defense is 100% still good enough to get them there.
Okay, so let's shift a little bit. So let's focus on the Patriots side of the story, right? So if you want to say deadline, if you want to say before the season, in 2017, Tom Brady's no longer a Patriot. You've got Jimmy Garropolo, no Rob Gronkowski, so it's Garoppolo and Brandon Cooks. Do they even make the playoffs the next few seasons?
Yeah, and I do think they make the playoffs for a few reasons. The first one is that Jimmy Garropolo, people like to knock on him, but he's won games. He did it with the 49ers, we saw it. And he's a game manager, but he can win games, and he can take that team where they need to go if they put pieces around them. And, the Patriots' defense for the last few years was just dominant. And so Jimmy Garoppolo with that defense, I think he definitely wins enough games to make the playoffs, especially with how bad that division was. I mean, the Dolphins weren't good. The Bills weren't good. Who am I missing? The Jets, awful. So I think he could have definitely made the playoffs, maybe all of those years.
Yeah, that was my point exactly. I think with that division and Garoppolo proving that in the regular season he can win games and manage games, I think that they definitely make the playoffs.
So, I don't think they would make the playoffs, but it's nothing against Garoppolo. It's just that based on everything we've been hearing recently, like Tom Brady has been kind of controlling the locker room in New England, promoting the Patriot way. And so if you have a guy of Brady's caliber and he's being talked to the same way that Belichick talks to everyone else, it makes the team feel a lot easier, like when they get called out. So if you take away a guy like Tom Brady, it feels like the Patriot way is going to be a lot harder for the rest of the roster to adjust to.
Yeah, I agree, but I think we've also seen some leadership from Jimmy Garropolo. You know, that 49ers team, he did step up, and he kind of took that team where they wanted to go. And the Patriots do have other leaders on their team as well who would step up and kind of reinforce that on their defense especially. You know, they have Stephon Gilmore, they have the McCourty twins. I think they just have enough kind of leaders who are going to step up. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, they're just going to make a push and win games.
Yeah, I mean, people forget Garoppolo is either one throw he makes or one throw Mahomes doesn't make to Tyreek Hill on the 3rd and 15 away from a Super Bowl. And if he wins that Super Bowl, the talk around him is completely different. And people are judging him this year. He was hurt, and when he was playing with an ankle injury that you just watched him. It affected his throwing. It affected his mental game. He was not confident in himself. And he definitely wasn't confident to move around in the pocket. So I think people kind of forget just a bit of recency bias about what Garoppolo truly can do when he's fully healthy.
Yeah, I agree. Garoppolo is a solid starter. I just don't know if he'd be able to really carry and lead a team on his own. But shifting over, two teams, not the Patriots, won Super Bowls, the Eagles and the Chiefs. In this world where Tom Brady's no longer a Patriot, do they still reach those Super Bowls?
Well, I think the Eagles, definitely reach the Super Bowl, but I think the Eagles 100% win the Super Bowl because one of two things would happen. They would be playing the Patriots with Jimmy Garropolo instead of Brady, or they'd be playing the Jaguars with Blake Bortles. And, Nick Foles in that game was the highest graded quarterback performance of the Super Bowl ever. And Tom Brady on the other side threw for 500 yards. Tom Brady also had an amazing game. And so I don't think it's possible for Jimmy Garoppolo to play better than Tom Brady played in that Super Bowl. And I definitely don't think it's possible for Blake Bortles to play better than Tom Brady did in that Super Bowl. So I think the Eagles get there, and I still think they win it.
Yeah, I definitely think the Eagles get there. They were just, in my eyes, they were bound to win that Super Bowl. I mean, Nick Foles just has some insane run. That defense was just playing completely lights out. And to your point, if it's not Garoppolo and the Patriots, then it's Blake Bortles, who definitely doesn't have the game that Brady did in that one. As for the Chiefs, I don't think they win that Super Bowl with Brady on the 49ers. We kind of already discussed it, but I definitely don't think they do with how much better Brady is than Garoppolo.
Right, so for the Eagles, I feel like the only thing that would really be standing in their way is the 49ers. Like, if Brady was on the 49ers at the beginning of the season and was able to play out the whole year, he would be the only roadblock in the Eagles' way. But if the Eagles do reach a Super Bowl, they can knock off Jimmy G or Blake Bortles. So I definitely feel like that was almost a meant-to-be season. As for the Chiefs, I feel like we said, they probably don't win that one. And San Fran all of a sudden is looking like we just won the Super Bowl. We've already had a contender. We have Tom Brady. They would be in a really good spot for the next few seasons.
Yeah. Well, the next thing, does Brady still leave free agency and join Tampa Bay? I definitely don't think if the 49ers win the Super Bowl in 2019, no way Brady, because Brady proves that he can win with two teams. So he's just proved everything that he could possibly prove. Why leave another team? I think he stays in San Fran. He cheered for them when he was young. He won the Super Bowl there. I think he never ends up leaving for Tampa Bay if the 49ers win that Super Bowl with him on the team.
Yep, I agree. I think the whole reason he joined the Buccaneers was to move away from Bill Belichick. If he's on the 49ers, no Bill Belichick. It's his own separate team still. I don't think he would have any reason to leave. I think he keeps going for more Super Bowls on the 49ers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't see a reason for him to leave. He's got a fun coach, fun situation, a good defense, and they just won a Super Bowl. Yeah, so in this crazy world where Bill Belichick trades Tom Brady in 2017, which was always his plan. The Patriots don't get back to a Super Bowl. The Chiefs never win a Super Bowl. And all of a sudden, the San Francisco 49ers are sitting there with another win, Tom Brady, and potentially looking at a dynasty. What a world that would be to live in.
For more creative, informative, and high-quality sports content, make sure to follow Phenom on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as all of the Phenom podcast channels for each sport. The link tree in the episode description includes a direct link to all of the aforementioned platforms, so click on that to access everything. Phenom boasts a team of over 100 youth contributors from around the world, covering every sport on every media platform. If you are interested in potentially joining the Phenom team as a writer or content creator, send an email to cole@phenommedia.net showing your interest. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow the channel. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.